Welcome to another episode of the Solar Journey. And today we have a new constellation here at the Solar Journey. Not only one guest, but two guests. And these gentlemen are from the company called Solytic. It's a, let's say, IT company from exactly from Berlin, and they provide services to run solar plants in the perfect way. Welcome, Konrad. Welcome, Steffen.
Thank you.
Hey.
Yeah. So let me just briefly introduce Steffen and Konrad. So Steffen is a trained IT specialist, and he's now the CTO of Solytic. In short, he has been involved in software solutions for power plants, solar power plants, for more than 14 years. So he worked as the managing director for Baltic SD and the managing director of PowerDo. And PowerDo and then Solytic merged in 2019, and since then he's been the CTO of Solytic. So he's the renewables IT nerd in this group. Konrad, he's got more a commercial focus. So since 2008, he has been involved in various startups that provided communication services, restaurant seat reservations. He was involved in business development, sales, and pretty much all not in solar. He was also a VP of Rocket Internet. That's a fairly famous German company builder with focus on web-based business models. And maybe the most famous child of Rocket Internet is Zalando. That's a multinational fashion and lifestyle platform with 6 billion euros in revenue. And but he then moved into the renewable space in 2017 when he founded Solytic. And as I mentioned before, in 2019, PowerDo, that's Steffen, and Solytic with Konrad joined forces. And Solytic is a data-driven marketplace to maximize the all-around performance of solar PV plants. Yeah, welcome again, Konrad and Steffen. Steffen, you've been in the renewable space for a pretty long time. What was the driving force? Why did you 14 years, I think, in the renewable space? Why did you jump in there? There's plenty of opportunities for IT specialists. Why renewables?
Yeah, that was because actually my wife was working in the solar industry, and over my wife I get contact to the company because the company is creating plants, sites all over Europe, and that was in 2014, so right before the big solar boom, the first solar boom. And this company had a big problem with IT services to monitor the solar plants. So at this time, there was no actual software on the market to do this in a professional way, and especially not if you want to scale with a huge amount of sites. And I had my office really close to this company, and then we get in contact, and so I started to actually trying to solve their problems by doing small IT services to consolidate the data, to make it more easy for them to monitor all the sites. And also started with IT service. So I traveled around Europe in the new sites they are built and installed the IT system into the site. It was in Italy, Spain, and all around. And I managed to get the data out of the site. So was also a site where on-field internet was not so stable, so no 5G or something. So it was was not so easy to connect these sites. And then this software, which I created, was basically Excel markups to group the data, was more and more evolving into an idea how a software solution could solve this problem for them. And then actually I met Johannes Dahl at this time because he was working for the solar site builder, and then the idea gets more and more solid, and then we started the company PowerDo.
Okay. Excellent. And the solar space has been developing quite nicely. There were a couple of dips in the market development, particularly in Germany. How did that affect your career, your business?
Yeah, that was I think it was pretty good timing. So we started to get into this market before the big solar crash, so we had the idea of what we can do to create this software, and then I think then the big crash comes, and we were actually the first company on the market which was able to create hardware independent software, and we was actually an early starter and at this time, and so we get into the market when the second wave started, and
sorry, let me. I can at least remember two crashes. So one around 2008-9 with the financial crisis, but then also in Germany later on, with a few years later. So, what time frame are we talking about?
So this was in 2014, and then okay. I think that was the first crash, and So that was pretty good timing. So then on the second wave, all the plants are built up all over Europe, especially also in Germany. And we had a good opportunity to get in these new sites to support the companies to monitor their plants. And that was pretty good timing.
Excellent. Yeah. And Konrad, so you were involved in various startups. You're a real startup person as well. I didn't mention all the different names. So just tell us what you did in your previous roles and why you then moved why you then started the company Solytic in 2017.
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having us. By the way,
sure.
Yeah, so I have done a couple of internships when I was super young at DAX companies, so Volkswagen, Salzgitter AG, and so on. So this was my first working experience, which was good because I found out that this is not the way I want to live my life.
Why?
During my, I'm the worst employee if I have a boss above me. Like I really suck. Yeah. And if I don't have pretty much full responsibility and ownership over what I'm doing, then it just doesn't work for several reasons.
You're a rebel.
I can relate. I can really strongly relate on this.
So I always said, hey, I know things better, and I actually do sometimes. Yeah. But I needed the chance to prove them. Otherwise, it's just cheap talk. So that's why I moved into the startup industry. Even during my studies back in the days, had a couple of companies back there. Also, as started off as a salesperson, worked my way up. Also went to Singapore for 2 years for Quandu. You mentioned it before, online table booking.
Yeah.
That was a quite great experience because we were responsible for entire APAC and building up the markets over there in a different time zone for more than 40 people. So that was amazing.
Yeah. How did you like life in Singapore?
It's slightly different. So the rent over there was higher than my current salary. So it's super expensive. But obviously it's nice if you just need like 2.5 hours to Bali. Yeah? So I've been there quite a few times. But Singapore as a city, I mean, amazing. They're a futuristic city. They're acting fast, not only on COVID, but also now on climate change. And they're actually really taking care of their own people. Yeah, they're building new stuff. They want to be top notch. So it's amazing to see what you can do if you really want it. And Singapore is a great place to actually live. But also after a while, it gets boring because you've been there, done that. And then I also realized that after 2 years. So I came back and my wife and me, we got pregnant together. So the family thing started.
Yeah.
So that's why we moved to Berlin. And then I had the chance to, I was still working for startups outside of renewables, but then I had the chance to actually go into renewables because it triggered some of my check boxes. So, startup responsibility ownership, there's an economic opportunity, a huge one. It was just a matter of time. Like, when is it happening? And as we can see, it's super happening now. But also, this green renewable thing, so we had to move into this direction anyway. So, I said, why don't do it now where, you have the chance. So this was my reason.
Yeah, excellent. And you the two of you used to work for two different companies, and you merged. That's pretty unusual for two young companies to come together, right? So how did that come about, and how did you manage such a merger?
Yeah, it's strange that we hear that so often, that it's so unnatural, because it feels like it was really, really natural and the only way to go. Because PowerDo is created a little bit different. So we grow very slowly with getting customer by customer, a small company with only 4 people. Then we met actually Solytic, and Solytic was the opportunity for us because Solytic was already grown, solid founded with a lot of employees already in a dev team, so a real team, and that was a real big chance for us to get the ideas we had for years to life, because we had the power with all these with these bigger dev team to get it actually done. And this was no big thinking. So about this, it was actually the first the only way to go.
How did you get in touch? Did you call each other and say, hey, why don't we join forces, or how did it happen?
No, that was actually random on a trade fair. So my co-founder Johannes Dahl met the other Johannes, Johannes Burkhardt, on some event, and they get into talking, and then they quickly understood that they are on the same path. So both companies are exactly on the same path, and we have two ways to go. We work against each other, dealing with the same customers and fighting. So we also noticed that we already talking with the same customers, and the other way is to do it together and to have a 100% chance then to get these customers instead of 50-50. And so
excellent. And one big thing, if you join companies, also from our own previous experience, if you join companies, then you bring together two cultures, right? How did that work out? Did you see, 4 people and like, let's say already a grown company in Berlin, did that work all right, or did you take special measures to integrate those two cultures and ways of thinking?
So I only can tell for myself. So for me it was really easy, because it actually just when we were at the company Solytic for the first time, it feels like we're getting into the close circle on the first step. So I remember that sitting in the big meeting room, and then I think Konrad was it that introduced ourselves, and everybody came up to us and asking, who are you, what you are doing, and very interested. And so it feels like we were part of the company from the first second on. So it was not really hard to get into this thing. And also these we are on the same level of age, so the culture feels very natural, and was pretty easy actually.
Yeah. Super. Yeah.
And we also took our time to do that. Yeah? So as Steffen just explained, it totally makes sense to merge the companies. But I can also remember that Steffen and Yoda, as we call him, they just came, once a week, then they came twice a week, then they took a little bit of responsibility. They were slightly on our payroll, so it was like a natural process of merging together. Yeah? And at the very end, there was a legal merger, and this process took place within maybe 1.5 years. So we always had the chance to back up, both sides. But there was no chance that we were able to back up because it totally makes sense, not just on the, on the skill set level, but also on the personal level.
Yeah, super cool. Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about Solytic. What the service you are providing. Why is it important? What do you bring? What problem are you solving in the renewable space?
Sure. So today, and this is just a rough estimation, I think we have around 25 million PV assets all over the world.
Yeah. So assets, these are small and large systems. Power plants, like on a private household or a gigantic solar power plant. Yeah.
Everything, photovoltaic, everything. So it can be a huge park in Egypt where you need 2 days to walk out of. Yeah. But it can also be like a medium-sized park next to the highway. Yeah. It can be a small installation on a rooftop from a house. Yeah. So everything, it should be somewhere around 25 million.
25 million.
And as we all know, climate change is happening. So we need to scale that up to at least 1 billion by 2050.
1 billion the next power plants, solar power plants.
Power plants all over the world. Yeah. This is just solar, not wind, just solar. To make this happen. Solar is becoming it's already the cheapest source of electricity in history. So it makes sense to install it. So now we're in the phase of really scaling that up. And Germany should have around, of this 25 million, I think maybe like 2-point-something million. So Germany is already an old market that passed the 2 million threshold. So there are quite a few companies out there who are making sure that we get there to the 1 billion in the next 30 years. Yeah, like companies like Enpal, Solar, Eigensonne, Sunrun in America, super great companies installing PV on every roof and every green spot they can find. But it's not just about building it, but it's also about taking care of the performance throughout the 25 years of each PV plant. And this is usually done by professionals within the utility SCADA segment. That means the huge parks are getting monitored within control rooms from humans, and they just take care of it. They have long-term contracts for maintenance, cleaning, all the services that the big PV plants need during the lifetime. But when we talk about the medium size and small size, so commercial, industrial, and residential space, this is more of a responsibility of the owner. And they usually don't have the PV experts taking care of the plants at all. So this process needs to get automated by AI. So that's why we have a software that receives the data from the PV plants, from the inverters, maybe data loggers. We have satellite data, we have irradiance data, and so on. Also a construction plan, so we can build a digital twin so we know the PV asset inside out and put it into our portal, digital twin. So we have all these data sources and put this into a monitoring solution. So monitoring means we have an interface where you can see if your PV plant is up or down, or if it's burning or whatever it is. So how it's producing. But it's just basically copying exactly the data that we are receiving into graphs. So then we have a second layer, which is the analytics layer that tells you where you have.
May I jump in? So for the digital twin, that's cool. Do you also include like the technical data of, do you know who manufactured the solar module, who's the manufacturer of the inverter, the model type, etc., stuff like that?
Everything, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So one of our USPs is that we are only a software company. So we don't bring our own hardware, but we are able to connect to any hardware device out there. So it can be a Huawei inverter, it can be an SMA inverter, it can be some kind of other company's data logger. We can connect to it as long as it can then send data to a third party like Solytic. So we don't care which hardware it is. We are hardware agnostic, hardware independent.
Yeah, super. And then you mentioned the second layer. Yeah.
So the second layer is after receiving the data, we look for potentials and problems within each system. So the analytics layer. And then we have a third layer, which is called the marketplace. So once you found potentials and problems, then you also need to offer solutions. So we can tell now it's time for you to clean. So it makes financial sense for you. Now it's time for you to do a warranty extension or a maintenance service or whatever it is that brings your PV plant during those 25 years to the maximum performance. Yeah. And that's the entire process and value chain that we are automating with our software.
Yeah. Wow. So if I was let's say, company specialized on module cleaning in Egypt, I could do advertising or something like this on your marketplace and say, hey, book me to clean your solar modules?
Yes, exactly. We are focusing currently on Germany because currently we have around 135,000 PV plants. So we say once you reach around 50,000 within one country, then you have a strong enough demand side. So you have lots of PV plants connected. Yeah. And then we open up the supply side. So this is only the case in Germany for now. Okay. So let's talk about a German cleaner. Yes, they can come to us or we acquire them, get them as a partner on our platform. And then we just say, hey, we have all these plans. Do you want to offer your services? And then our analytics capabilities trigger the order. So they just tell the owner of the PV plant, now it makes sense. These are your offers. Why don't you choose? They can come in 2 weeks and just clean your roof.
Yeah, fantastic. So what are the classic issues that can happen in a solar power plant? I mean, someone who is not familiar with solar might ask, why do I need to do monitoring? Why, I thought it's so great. Why should I look at it, right?
I can tell you a story. So that was within the first solar boom, everybody was building these mid-sized sites like crazy, but monitoring was not on the top priority. So there were many sites out there which had no monitoring at all. And when we started the company and we get in contact after the first solar boom with our customers, we actually noticed plenty of sites which had no monitoring. And then you're coming up to the site of a customer. We did the connection actually by our own, and you look up on the wall and see the inverters, and half of the inverters are not running since a year. So because then the customer doesn't notice, because you had these EG, you had your income that was coming stably in, and the customer also have no experience with what to expect from their site. So mostly you notice it at the end of the year when the income you have on your site is not matching the prognosis that was made at the first place. And so with this coming up, there are plenty of problems. So there are classic ones with the modules. They could have micro cracks from hailing storms, or when a bird drops a stone on top of it, or a nut or whatever. Then inverter can get dirty because there was too much dust, and they overheat and they break. There are plenty of problems. Also, electricity problems, like the connection cable could be bitten by a mouse, or could be not installed perfectly, and water dripping in, and then you have a short circuit. And so there are plenty of problems that could happen to a site. So it's not the same kind of problems like you have with the wind turbine, so with the high dynamic system, but plenty of problems. And you have to take care of your site, because otherwise, because the site is not instantly going into flames, or at the wind turbine you see that it's not turning anymore, you notice it after a certain period of time, then you already lose money. And actually this is the problem why you need proper monitoring on solar sites.
Yeah. And with your analytics, can you already pinpoint to possible causes, or can you just tell, well, it's not running good, and so you have to send someone there? Or can you already help the owner to where to look for the issues? Yeah.
So we can already tell what's actually wrong in the site, but where we want to get is to tell the customer that your system is eventually breaking, because we see this tendency in temperature, voltage phase, or something. this is the big picture where we want to get, but you can already tell the customer if there's monitoring on site. Okay, this string has a problem, the fan speed has a problem, the temperature has a problem. So we can pretty precisely say what's wrong in the site. So most cases you have to go on site and to do actually electricity measuring to find the problem to fix. But we can give you an idea where to look inside your site.
Okay. So to allow such a detailed analysis, do you have to hook up? So you have to use lots of cables and connectors and I don't know, connection boxes to install your sensors and etc. You need to get the data somehow, right? So is that a lot of work? Yeah. How much does it increase the capex, or do you provide that as a service? The sensors and the cables, etc., that you need to install.
No, this is what Konrad actually mentioned, that we don't have our own hardware. So we rely on hardware from different vendors, and we tell the customer it doesn't matter how your system looks like. We can connect it as it only needs to send our data through some data logger. And there is also a shift, especially in the residential market, that data loggers are now integrated already into the inverters. So you have real IoT systems in a way, and they directly send data for us. In the in the past, it was more like you have to buy a data logger for meter control or solar log, and you have to install it. But there is also an internal communication line called Modbus in almost every solar plant, even in the very old ones, where you can connect the data logger to.
All right. So basically, there's a standard connection to the internet of almost all electrical devices in such a power plant, and you just use this data.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you don't have to buy new hardware when you want to use our software. So we just take whatever you have and just connect it with our cloud.
Excellent. So how many people are there now? Sorry?
No capex.
No extra capex. Yeah. So your business model, that's what, software as a service, or what's your business model at
exactly? So the first two layers, monitoring analytics, this is a SaaS model, software as a service. Also signing long-term contracts because our customers want to have stability. They usually sign for up to 5 years. And the marketplace layer is more of a transaction model. So whenever somebody books a service, for example, cleaning, then we get a cut of the pie.
Yeah, excellent.
Percentage.
So you're in the sweet spot of recurring revenue, super nice planning. Once you sign a deal, then you know this is what we're going to get for next 5 years.
Exactly. So right now we have around 70% of our annual revenue is recurring. So that's quite strong for a SaaS company. But it's not only 70%, but also we have a total contractual value signed. So whatever we sign, it's for the next 5 years. So that's quite attracting for a business case.
Yeah, excellent. So how many people are there now at Solytic?
So right now we are 35. Most of them are Berlin-based, but due to Corona, everybody is doing home office at the moment. So the office is actually pretty empty. And we are going for Series B in the next 6 to 9 months.
Series B funding, so you go to acquire more capital. Yeah.
The next financing round, exactly. We already had 2, so now we're going to round 3. And then we want to scale up our team a little more.
Yeah. So are you actually going to come back to the office, or do you enjoy the home office and video conferencing?
Steffen?
Mixed. Yeah, it's a bit mixed. So so we are in a big office room in Berlin, and so there is conflict potential. So developers need to concentrate. Sales is doing a lot of phone calls.
Noisy
so actually,
guys.
there are people who who enjoying that they are at home and can really focus on. But what we also noticed, we need to see in our faces again. So we need to meet in the office again to get into contact, to get these talks on the floor, so at the coffee machine. So because there are people in the company, actually, I didn't talk to a very long time, but I did before, because there's some guy who's always the first in the office, and you spend some time in talking with him, and you get an idea what is marketplace doing, what is sales doing, and you also get if there are problems. If anybody in a company is frustrated, you get to him and talk with him, and this is the things you are missing if you're in home office.
Yeah.
But there are also some kind of comfortable situations, like the developers sitting. They don't need to drive around with the underground railroad in Berlin, or driving 1 hour with the bicycle. So this is private time you already spare, but yeah, during Corona you cannot do much as sitting around at home.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we will get in the office soon, and to socialize again, and this is very important.
Yeah. But are you going to keep some level of home office? Do you think you keep that, or would you say, well, you have to come back to the office, show up?
Yeah, I think it will be a flexible way around. So there are people who really want to stay in the office almost full time. We also we will get people back into company to do this event, like meetings and so on, to see each other again. But we will find a somehow flexible way to allow people. We already had this before Corona, so home office is nothing new to us. It's not like we are one of these companies say, no, you have to be in the office full time and we don't trust you, something. We already have a flexible way of home office, and we will continue it in any way in the future.
Yeah, I mean, Konrad, you've plenty of experience with the building companies, but Steffen, you as well. So maybe someone who is listening now and he's also thinking of starting a company. What's the biggest learning you made over the years? The biggest mistakes you did, and or the best things you should. What would you recommend to how to evolve, how to run a company, to start up a company efficiently?
I think the first thing the first thing I can relate is to hear on people who already did this, because I remember one thing very. Like it was yesterday, I took over the office when I founded the first company from another company. It was a guy who actually had an IT company and was going into retirement. And I had a talk with him, and he told me, settle on, the first 3 years will be tough. And I think to myself, yeah, come on. It's an old thing everybody told you. And actually it was like this. Though the first time is pretty hard. You have to find your way, your sweet spot in the market. And so it's a tough time, especially in the start, but you get rewarded from time to time, and in a way that it really keeps the fun level up. So yeah.
So what was tough for you what is tough?
Yeah, especially the first company was not founded in these like startup way, like getting a seed invest and so on. So I have to earn money for myself from the first minute on, and this was pretty tough to find new customer, to hold customer, to get everything done. So financing everything in a small company you have to do on your own, because you have to spare money. You cannot go to a tax office in the first place because you don't have the money to do this. And this was actually a tough time. So it's a little bit more easy today, like with finding a seed investor, going to these pretty common startup story, which makes it way more easy. So even you have somebody who can give you advices, and this is all things that I missed for myself in the first place when I founded the company on my own. And I think that's a tough time. So if you don't have a seed investor and you have to earn money from the first minute.
Yeah. So you would really recommend join some sort of networks, startup networks, so that you can learn from others. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, it's pretty important.
And Konrad, from your perspective, except for financing, we'll touch that in a minute. What's the key learning for you now for over the years? What was the biggest mistakes or the biggest trouble you had, or the best advice you ever got to run a company, to start up a company?
So for me, the toughest thing was that you need to be able to do seriously everything once you start a company. You need to be as professional as possible in every single department because you are the department, basically. Yes, we got a seed funding of 3 million, but we didn't have, or like, at least I didn't have the network to just hire people, 20 people from the start. So we had to build this over time. So like the small team back in the days, we just had to do everything: sales, marketing, product, financing, operations, hiring. So everything, you need every skill you need in a company. So that's where you start off, and that's where you also get good in. But over time, you start hiring people, and then you have to fire yourself basically from these kind of positions and bring these people on a level, if they don't already have it, where they can actually perform. So you have to stop doing everything.
You have to let go, right?
You have to let go, and you also have to accept the learning curve from the other people, making mistakes, learning from them, getting better, and so on. And this was quite a challenge for me, because there's the same mentality that I had back in the days when working for corporates. I know better, let me do it, get out of my way. But this is something you just have to develop and learn over time, to give your people, your team, like a chance to let them learn, be a mentor, be a sparring partner, and show them the guidance, basically, or teach them everything that you have learned in the past. But this is a tough process. And at the end of the day, our day also has just 24 hours. So if you don't learn that, you will lose. You will end up in a burnout. You will, your wife will let you know that you work too much and so on. And then your kids will let you know. And this is just not healthy over time. Especially in the clean tech industry. I think the startups usually, it takes slightly longer than the previous and non-renewable startups. So, we have a horizon of 5 to 10 to 15 years where we have certain plans. So you need to be there for the long run anyway. So that was quite a tough learning.
I think that is a very important part so don't found just because you want to found. You need to found in the area where you're really enjoying what you are doing, because I remember, so we have a big customer close in the last year, and doing, I think, 3 to 4 weeks, I slept maybe 3 to 4 hours at night at max. So no weekend, but it not feels so hard because I really love what I do, and I know where we want to get, and I'm a developer with all of my heart, and so in the back I can say, okay, it was pretty cool to build something and to get to this tough time. But if you are just building a company because you want to found in a way, and it's not your not the thing you love, then I think it will be tough to get through exactly the times Konrad described, and to go through all this learning and go this extra mile that you need to go if you're founding a company.
Wow, excellent. Thanks a lot for sharing. Pretty cool advice. Thank you. So, Konrad, you mentioned the funding. So, Steffen, you were basically bootstrapping in the beginning, but and Solytic, but started right off with some seed funding and Series A. Now you're going for Series B. Can you share us some more details? How did you find the seed and Series A funding? How did you do that?
So back in the days, obviously, when you want to move into renewables, there are quite a few ideas. So you have some kind of ideation phase where you just check out whatever comes to your mind and get informed and see if this market is taking off at some time. That's what you actually do during the validation phase. So you have some 15 ideas, then you validate maybe 5, and then there's like a winning model at the end. So you just pick one. And we were lucky enough to have the energy utility Vattenfall as a seed founder, seed investor. Sorry.
So how did on board. How did you find them? Did you just call them and say, "Hey, I need money," or how did it work?
They were part of the entire process. So they said, "Hey, renewables is the next big thing. So let's find a couple of founders and a potential team where we can run through these entire phases. So Vattenfall was there from the start because it was their own idea to actually do that. And I was just, and also my co-founder, Johannes Burgert, we were basically then part of the process. We were the chosen ones who, were guiding through the entire process.
How did you learn about that Vattenfall is looking for founders? How did you know?
Yeah, just network. Yeah, so they were building up a VC arm, and then it's really about, hey, Vattenfall, do you know anybody who would be interested in this one, who has this kind of skill set and this kind of skill set, and then we were just interviewing, dating, and then it just happened.
Yeah, excellent. All right, then so seed was Vattenfall, then Series A was the wider network of investors, or is it all still Vattenfall?
Exactly. So the seed investment, we just had Vattenfall as investor, and then we had around 2 years to raise Series A, and then we got the other energy utility EWE from Oldenburg, so a German one next to the Swedish one in it, and we actually closed Series A just really a few weeks before the lockdown. Yeah? So this was great timing from all sides. Yeah. Because I could have imagined that, if this would have been a little later, then maybe, something else would have happened. So we just had super luck that, I think it was the internal documents were signed in February, so early February, and we announced it a little later. So this was luck, and sometimes you just need luck. And this is just one example where the timing was just perfect. So then we raised this part, and we raised enough money for the next 2 years. And now the 2 years are coming to an end slightly. That's why we're going for Series B for some growth funding.
Yeah. So how come that EWE and Vattenfall, they are basically competitors, right? Why would they both invest in the same company? What's their business thinking behind that?
Yeah. So that's true. They're competitors on certain levels, but they're also partners on others. So when you take a look at where you're buying your electricity from, it can be Vattenfall or EWE. That's true. But on other levels, they are partnering. I think even the current CEO from EWE used to work for Vattenfall before. Yeah.
Okay.
So there's quite some networking going on. But again, both companies, both investors believed in the team, they believed in the vision, they believed in the product, so they wanted to be part of this. And now we are actually talking to quite a few other investors who also want to be part of the journey. So yes, they're competitors, but at the end, they're actually super great investors and partners from us.
Okay. So they are great partners. They are not. So what about reporting? How do you interact with EWE and Vattenfall? What kind of work? What do you need to do to keep them happy in terms of reporting or?
It's actually the usual reporting as any other VC out there. Yeah? So yes, they're energy utilities. They have a strategic element to the investment. That's true. Yeah. But at the end of the day, we have a board meeting every 2 months. They can check our numbers every single day through an online dashboard. We exchange ideas. They buy our product. They integrate our service into their companies. They help us wherever they can. So it's really a partnership on eye level.
Yeah, super cool. So where do you want to take the companies? So Series B comes in, another, I don't know, 10, 20 million or something. And what's next? Where do you want to take it? Global reach, revenue, people? What's the plan for the, let's say, next 5 years?
Yeah, so in the last 3.5 years, we basically focused most of the time to build our monitoring solution, to provide a very professional hardware independent monitoring solution. And we bootstrapped somehow the analytics and marketplace capability. So we had small teams in these 2 layers. Yeah? So now with a new investment, we want to build up the teams in the analytics and marketplace, and also grow from currently 135,000 plans to more than 1 million in the next 2 years. So to really start scaling our product. So this is basically our plan for the next 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
And from the technical point, it's like I told earlier, this predictive maintenance. This is where a part where we see strong opportunities by using machine learning and AI. So to inform a customer before something happens, that you have to take care of the device. Also with big data analytics, you can do things like you can recommend a customer a certain device for the area he lives into, because there are devices which are running better in close to a sea, or close to or in drier regions, with a lot of heat, with cold regions. So you can analyze all this data that we have over these hundreds of thousands of devices that we are monitoring, and give recommendations what to install, what is the perfect fit, what could happen with your device, when you have to take care, how to get more energy out of your system, how to adjust battery, and then if you have modern heating system in your house with the solar panel, how to manage the energy in your inner house system. So there are so many parts that you can actually take care of with analytics. I know this is somehow a buzzword, but in this case, it makes really sense, because we have.
So basically, you're gonna be like you're gonna have so much valuable data, right? You will know what inverter is good, what inverter runs in what conditions, bad or good. So the feedback for the actual manufacturer is going to be also pretty valuable data, really, right? So you will know the modules from, I don't know, Trina or Yingli run well in these conditions and not so well in these conditions. So this is a pretty valuable asset you're going to build, right? The data itself, right?
Especially, also we can help manufacturers with things like, we had this case in the past that a manufacturer had a problem with one series of his device, and we did some analytics for him with the data to especially told him, okay, the devices which had the problems are in a area with certain conditions, and that brings the manufacturer close to, okay, I think we have a problem with, we need a higher fan speed because the system is overheating or something. This is insights we can give manufacturers, and this is very important for them.
Excellent, really good. So what are other top trends in the market? What do you see? I mean, like this preventive maintenance that you mentioned, right? And the, let's say, benchmarking, feedback to components, hardware components, suppliers is pretty cool. What else do you see where solar or renewable space is heading?
So since
technology or business wise, right?
Since I've been in the startup industry for quite a while, I can see the same patterns that happened back in the days once we had like the first big investments into startups after 2000, and then the first big exits in non-renewable startups. City Deal, Groupon back in the days, and Daily Deal and so on. So they were pretty much the first ones that got quite a few dollars for the exit. And afterwards, like an ecosystem evolved, like Zalando and so on. They all came up, and this is exactly happening now within renewables. So there's a trend that history is repeating itself now within this renewable sector. So we had the first couple of huge investments into NPAL, Solar, Eigensonne. Twice there are American companies raising more than 300 million euros. We had the first huge exit here in Europe, which was Sonnen, so the battery OEM. They exited to Shell. So this was, the first one on our radar that was actually worth mentioning. So whatever happened back in the days to the other startup industry is now happening within the renewable as well. So more money is getting into investments. The exits are getting better. And that's why this entire branch is actually evolving. So that's one clear trend we can see.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
this
also
is,
from a technical part, which is really interesting. I think what I saw over the last years is that when I started, you have to do very close calculation for every module you place on your roof or on the field to see if, because the high price, if it's efficient or not. And today we're in a situation that solar cells are so cheap that if you have space on your roof, you just place it. If it's half shadowed over the day, it doesn't matter because they are so cheap. And I know this is something that this evolution we all paid for to develop these devices into this pricing region. But in the end, we had such a huge potential. If you getting the solar modules on maybe half of all the roofs in Germany, you have such a big potential. And I know before 15 years, everybody's told, yeah, we will never have more than 2 or 3% of energy coming from solar, and we way over it, and we are way cheaper than ever expected by plenty of people. And this is a great evolution that we've seen over the last year. And now you have this opportunity to combine solar, wind, hydrogen, and all this system, and we will have very complex and very cool systems in the future that will help us with this energy transition. And I think maybe in 5 or in 10 years, you will be completely able to be off grid in source of power from the main grid. You only will have it as a backup if you have your own house, and this is really, really interesting and a big opportunity.
Yeah. You just mentioned hydrogen and of course storage. Are you also gonna move into that direction, monitoring system for energy storage? Is that an
We already have this integrated.
You already have.
So
okay.
We can monitor battery storage at the moment. So, and then for example, on the white label portals for manufacturers, for the end customer, we're providing information like how off-grid you are. So what is the percentage of energy you consume by yourself, you put into the grid, how much you're using. So we already get information like about storage and production to the customer, so he can also adjust his energy consumption over the day slightly by using it more efficient, by using the potential of a storage. So we're already in this market also since years. So already in PowerDo, we started to integrate energy storage systems into our monitoring, and this is growing and growing.
Excellent. So let's look. We want to get to 100% renewables. So where do you see the biggest roadblocks, right? Why can't we use solar and wind and storage? Why can't we roll it out faster than we are actually doing now, right? Because there's not so much time left, and the market is still growing fast, but some say not fast enough. What do you think? What are the roadblocks? What's stopping us from doing it faster?
Yeah, technically,
what needs to be done on a business or legal or technical level to make it easier for everybody to use?
Yeah, technically, I think it's the grid basically. So we need to transport energy and adjust the grid very, very, very closely. So we have to build these smart grids that we already started with in Germany, and we need to adjust the energy level from the south to the north. Having a big wind parks in the north, producing hydro energy to bring it to other regions in Germany to fuel ships, cars with it. So we need a very, very smart grid, and we need to actually extend our grid capabilities to manage the level of energy all over Germany, and also we need to extend it into Europe. So there's a huge potential of storing energy in countries like Norway or Finland. They have like these water energy plants. And we need to transport energy to them if we have in the case we have too much energy, so they can fill up the sea level or the water level, and then giving us energy back when there's not so much wind and energy, sun irradiation in Germany. So we need to open our grid and work together, not only in Germany, in Europe, and also worldwide. So this is, I think, one of the important things we have to come over.
Yeah, excellent. So you mentioned that it's also a buzzword, right? Smart grid, right? So what is do we have now a dumb grid, or is a grid operated these days, and where do we need to take it to have what is a smart grid?
Yeah, we have to segmentate it in somehow to build regional levels on small village level. For example, that in a small village you have a shared storage of energy, and you have your wind turbine. Everybody has solar power on his roof, and you somehow have a small grid inside the village where you're sharing the energy, and only if you need to or you have too much, you can go to the bigger level. So I think about it like an autobahn level of the energy. So you need to have fast tracks to transport energy on a big scale level, and you need to have these small grids where you adjust the energy very smartly. So we don't have a dumb grid, but we need to extend our grid and to build to make it capable of transporting so much energy around in Germany, because mostly in the past our grid is created to use energy mostly there where it is produced. So in every big city you have a big power plant to use the energy locally, but we need to adjust this energy.
Yeah. And I know that I think the frequency and voltage is somehow adjusted like constantly to take care of fluctuations in the energy supply and demand. And is that being done automatically, or is it like a guy turning a wheel to adjust these levels? And what's the grid operation look like now? Do you know? It's not your core competence, I know, but
I would bet a coin that is not done manually, so that there are already smart techniques. But actually, I never looked into such a grid control system, so I cannot tell you from details on that.
Yeah, and what if you mentioned that situation, right? A region, everybody's got solar and wind and whatever. Someone's got a big battery. How would you take care of the financial and the commercial part, right? I mean, if I've got a big solar panel, I don't use it. I want to, of course, not give it out for free. So how would you? There needs to be a automated commercial solution for that. What's your thinking of?
Yeah, so since we're already running out of these EEG
feed-in tariff,
we need to open up this on a market level so that you give energy into the grid when the grid needs it. So everybody needs to stay dynamic in the future in the market. So hard to say.
I mean, is this something where Solytic could go, right? Because the performance, right?
Yeah, so
the output. I don't know if measure it in real time. Basically, you need to have a really close to real-time system, right? To manage supply and demand, and then at a, let's say, commercial level, how to do the trading between the supply and the demand side, right?
So this is something we want to do with the marketplace. So if we have the solar panel connected and we know the consumption of the household, we could give the customer recommendation what is the best to use his energy inside his home. So by buying a battery, what is the right battery technology? What is the right vendor on the market to sell your power, your energy?
Okay.
And so this is something we can help by analyzing actually the data of the customer.
Yeah. Okay.
So there are plenty of opportunities. It's not so you have a fixed plan. It's really demands on your energy production, your energy consumption, and the region you are into.
Konrad, what are your views on the future of solar and wind? What needs to happen? What are constant roadblock current roadblocks where you think they should be removed, right? To use solar and wind faster.
So I'm not a wind expert. That's more Steffen, because his wife is working in wind.
She switched.
But I fully agree with Steffen. So I think we have a global problem with the climate crisis. So we need a global solution here. So if we talk about politics, actually my wife is coming home now, but if we talk about politics, yes, we have to install more and more capacity here in Germany. But if that's not possible for some reason, why don't we just build it somewhere where it's possible, where an area where humans don't live? Let's talk about Africa or the Sahara or something. I mean, I've just seen a picture posted by Elon Musk, I think yesterday even, where they have the entire world map and they just have a small square somewhere, and they said if we cover all of this small square with solar, we are done. That's all we have to do. And this is the kind of thinking that we need. Because I mean, to convince here, in Germany, somebody that now you're getting a wind farm in front of your house, if that's too tricky, we don't have the time to convince this person, or we go into hard politics and say, hey, just live with it, and we have to do it, or we find somewhere else, a place like Northern Africa, where they would be happy for this investment. And of course, there are some risks and the distance and so on, but these are solutions that we have to deliver at some point. So for me, it's all about a global vision and politics getting things done, because as you said, we don't have the time to think about it. We have to act.
Excellent. Perfect closing remarks. Guys, Steffen, Konrad, was great to have you on the show. Thanks a lot. All the best for your next Series B funding. And keep building a company. Sounds fantastic. Thanks a lot.
Thanks you.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye.